All right, guys, and welcome to another Top 5 with Tony and Gabe. This week, we're going to be talking baseball movies. I'm here with Gabe right now, and we're going to get down to it soon. All right, so I'll let Gabe start us off here. You got anything you want to say, anything you saw lately?
I saw Gretel and Hansel over the weekend. Pretty interesting twist on the classic, Hansel and Gretel, um, folktale. So I would, it's a 3 out of 5 for me. Nothing really too exciting, but nothing too boring. I mean, I thought it was beautifully shot. The story dragged it at times, but overall, like I said, it's about a 3 out of 5 for me. How about you? Did you see anything?
No, I haven't seen anything lately. I was supposed to go see 1917 tonight, but I opted out. I think I'm going to take my younger brother over the weekend. But I know we have Birds of Prey coming out this week, too. So I think I'm just going to end up seeing one of those. I'm not too big into war movies, though. Like, there's ones I like, but I don't know if they're my cup of tea personally. So I always drag on seeing them a little bit.
Right. I'm probably going to try to see Birds of Prey this weekend.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to have more fun with that. It looks like a ton of fun anyway, and I've heard pretty good stuff about it. But no, I haven't really seen anything new lately. Usually just watch the same stuff. I got a couple new movies that came in the mail on Blu-ray, and some more stuff coming tomorrow. So I think I'm going to check the stuff out that I bought personally.
Right.
So,
oh, absolutely.
So I got a couple of things. One movie we love already, but I opted out of buying it because I wanted one of the cool special edition releases, which I couldn't get my hands on, and it's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know. I should have gotten the Amazon release. It was on sale for like $50, and now people are reselling it for like $200. And the same thing with for like $200, and they're not making it anymore. I was like, I didn't know it was a limited release. It's kind of shitty.
Right.
And then Best Buy did a steelbook, which looked pretty cool. And that one's also sold out, and people are selling that for like upwards of $100 already from $30. No. So I went ahead and I had Amazon points, and I got the just regular release from Amazon. And I also pre-ordered Dr. Sleep, which I was a huge fan of. So that comes in that comes in tomorrow, and that's the director's cut. So I'm excited to see what the extra 30-something minutes of footage is. And I just bought another movie that's a blind buy that I heard is pretty great, but I've never checked it out. It's from 1981 with John Travolta, and it's called Blowout.
Okay.
So I haven't checked that one out, but a lot of people in the film community, the horror community, they all seem to like it. So I'm excited to see what that one's all about.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk about the John Travolta sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Oh, Staying Alive? No, I like that one too. That's pretty cheesy and shitty. I know somebody that worked on that movie.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, one of my teachers. I forgot what role he did, but he was something in the crew. He might have been a gaffer or a key grip, and he said Stallone had no idea what he was doing because Sylvester Stallone directed that. And it was like his first time directing a movie, I think. Or at least it was after.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's a pretty bad movie. But no, I'm excited to check out Blowout. It's supposed to be like Travolta's most serious role. He pretty much plays like this audio operator for horror movies who pretty much witnesses a murder, and he becomes so obsessed with figuring out the case, it's like a political assassination, and he keeps trying to figure out who the killer on the loose is and stuff. So it looks really cool. I got the Criterion collection of the release, so I'm interested in seeing what it's all about. But I haven't seen anything new lately. Just picked up a couple of Blu-rays. That's about it.
Yeah.
But I think we should just go ahead and jump right into our list because I feel like we'll have a good amount to say on the films that we both picked.
No, absolutely. So if anybody doesn't know, start of baseball season is right around the corner. Catchers and pitchers reports on February 12th. So at least the Cubs do. I don't know. Some teams go in a little bit earlier. But so our idea was to get this episode released so where we could talk about our top 5 baseball movies. So comedy, drama, whichever. But we want to make sure that everybody knows what our top 5 baseball movies are in general. So, you got any honorable mentions at all?
There's a few I thought of. The original Bad News Bears. I was gonna talk about Rookie of the Year, which missed my list. I feel like it's a fun movie. I don't know if I could put it in there. 42 about
Right.
Jackie Robinson with Chadwick Boseman. I haven't revisited that film in a while, so I don't know if I could properly put it on there. I remember thinking it was pretty great. And I know a lot of people are going to probably think Moneyball or something, but I haven't seen that. So those are a couple of ones that I want to revisit, and maybe down the line they'll be in my list if I ever update it. But 42 for sure. That'll be my honorable mention.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty solid biopic. What about for you, Gabe?
Well, my list is really all over the place, and I feel like I left some quality classic movies out that people are really gonna go after me for. Like Bull Durham, I left out.
Yeah.
Great movie. Love Susan Sarandon in it. Hey, I don't know why I just left it out of my list. Also, I left out. Oh God, what was the name of that one movie? Forget about it. I forgot completely. The If You Build It, We Will Come movie. A Field of Dreams. There we go.
Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams, yeah.
Yeah, I left that one out as well. So, I mean, both great baseball movies, timeless classics, but I wanted to talk about some other movies that people may have talked about a lot, but, I have more fun with these 5 that I've selected.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's going to be your first pick on the list?
My first pick on the list, and it's probably the newer one on the list, it's Hardball with Keanu Reeves. It's a very gritty baseball movie. It takes place on the south side of Chicago, where I'm originally from. It tackles a lot of issues, both coach and players and their struggles. The player struggles to live in the inner city of Chicago. The coach's problems with drinking and all this other stuff, and it just it's a coming of getting together and figuring out each other's problems, and the coach Keanu being the best version of himself that he can be, so that the kids could have some success. There's some crying. There may have been somebody cutting onions when you watch that movie during a part, but overall I thought it was a great movie.
I think everybody's going to know you as the channel's #1 Keanu fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I do pick every list we've had so far. There's been a Keanu reference. Yes.
I agree. I think Hardball's great. That would probably be another one in my honorable mentions as well. That was one I was thinking about including. I think it's a fun movie for sure, and that's right when he was coming down from his height of fame a little bit in the '90s. This is what, 2002 to 2003?
2001.
2001? Yeah. Hardball's great, and it's a lot of fun. I would like to see him do something like that again. I know he's got the John Wick thing going on, but I'd like to see him do something like Hardball. I think that's a solid pick and a solid start to the list.
Absolutely.
All right. I think for my number 5, and we talked about it before the show, it's going to be the remake of the Bad News Bears. I know for a lot of people the original is a classic with Walter Matthau, and I agree. I think it's a great film. But I don't know what it is about the remake. I feel like the mean-spirited edge to it was right up my alley. It was a little bit more of a darker comedic edge going on. I really like Billy Bob in that movie. I like the cast of kids. Richard Linklater, who did Dazed and Confused and Everybody Wants Some. School of Rock directed this one. I just really like his spin on it. I thought it was a solid remake. And this is mid-2000s when everything's getting remade, and I feel like this is one of those ones that always gets forgotten about, that there even was a remake of Bad News Bears.
Right, it does.
I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a solid kids movie. even for a kids movie, it's got a, like I said, it's got a mean edge to it. It's got a really nasty, mean spirit. But I think it's all in good fun. I think the cast really sells the material. So number 5 is going to be Bad News Bears from 2005.
Well, yeah, I think Billy Bob killed it, and like you said, it has a little bit edgier, but I think that's because of the way Billy Bob is.
Right. Yeah, no, he's having a lot of fun in that role, and he does the same thing that he brought to Bad Santa, and just anything that he does. He really brings like a nastier sort of edgier character that you can root for. And nothing against Walter Matthau, who's great in the original, but I think Bad News Bears is a really solid baseball movie and a really fun movie overall.
Absolutely.
What's going to be your number 4?
So I'm going to go. My number 4 is going to be my first kid movie on this list, and it came out the same year as another one on this list, but it's going to be Rookie of the Year. Came out in '93.
Okay.
That does make my list. Makes my list because that was the first time I saw the Cubs won the World Series, whether it be in movie form. I'm a huge Cubs fan. And, just the whole movie, having, Henry Roden Gardner and, his whole from being a kid to pitching for the Cubs and, the deals with being, a 12, 13-year-old dealing with fame and fortune and still trying to be friends with, kids who are still in school. So,
right.
I don't know. I think the most that I got out of it back then when I was a kid and even recently, because I think I just saw it the other day on Disney Plus, was just, how fun it was, the baseball aspect of it. And again, watching the Cubs win the World Series up until 2016 was like the only time you ever seen them.
Right, it was in this movie. It's true. What do you think of this kid has done? Now, the main kid, he also did that movie, Kid in King Arthur's Court. That was a baseball movie. I've never seen it, but that was a baseball movie as well, wasn't it?
Which one?
A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Okay. I think he probably did, but he's more known for the American Pie movies.
Right. No. Yeah. For sure. He's great in those too. But I'm talking about, this came out like right after. Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. I think this was another Disney movie too. Oh yeah, it's called A Kid in King Arthur's Court, and
came out in '95. I just see it.
Yep, Thomas Ian Nicholas. I remember seeing this on TV a lot too, and he also plays a baseball player on that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so he did a lot of movies where he's like playing baseball. So I wonder if he's actually pretty good at baseball. I wonder if he played a lot of baseball as a kid. It definitely feels like he got typecast in that kind of role until American Pie.
Right.
He was also in Halloween Resurrection. You can't forget that.
He was.
It was creepy.
I mean, I don't know. I think didn't everybody play baseball as a kid though?
Yeah, I was on Little League. I know my little brother did Little League for a little bit. I think everybody. It's like one of those sort of things you just do as a kid. Not even if you're good at it, they let you on anyway.
Right.
So, okay, that's a pretty solid. That was your 4th pick, right?
That was my 4th pick. What do you have as your number 4?
Okay, so for my number 4, I'm gonna go with The Sandlot. And this is a movie that I kind of get annoyed when people overhype The Sandlot. I really love it, but then it gets to a point, just like any movie, I kind of get annoyed with, where people just like fucking praise it up the ass, like it's the greatest thing ever. But I do love The Sandlot, so I think it's a fun time. But really, what sells it is the kids, the cast, and a lot of these kids did similar movies like this. I'm forgetting the main the great Bambino. I'm forgetting his name. He did a bunch of movies like this. He did what was that movie? The Big Green. He did Boys Club. So a lot of these kids were really known for that Sandlot-esque type movie. But really, this is the one that starts it all. The camaraderie, it really has that sort of Stand By Me feel, which I know the film was going for in a lot of aspects. Just really, it's the cast that sells it. And really, that's what you see with a lot of baseball movies. Is if the cast doesn't sell it, we're not going to believe it. We got to really believe that they're this team. And just the comedy works really well in it. There's a wholesomeness, nostalgia for the 60s setting. James Earl Jones is pretty great in it. I mean, what else can be said about the Sandlot that hasn't been said? It's a stone cold classic. But I always find that interesting. Like a lot of these kids that do those kind of movies in the 90s always got typecast in doing those kind of movies. It's always interesting to think about that they just keep doing the same roles, just like the Mighty Ducks guys too.
Yeah. Oh, did you hear about Goldberg this week?
Yeah. Well, I've known about that for a while. Like it's been well documented knowledge that he's had a problem with substance abuse. But I think this is one of the first major cases where it's broken out over the news nationwide. But I know for the past 4 or 5 years, it's been well talked about that he's had a problem with, like, I think heroin or methamphetamine.
Yeah, no, it's meth, but everybody knows. But I thought he got cleaned up because he made a commercial or whatever. But I guess it looks like he went back down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's a sad thing. I was reading about it. There's like a GoFundMe page. Apparently, he's been living off pretty much EBT and pretty much on Skid Row, which is in LA. So, like, I mean, it sucks. A lot of these child actors fall from grace, and you know, the thing with that guy, with Shaun Weiss, is like he was naturally funny. Like out of all these child actors who go on and become lawyers and bankers and stuff, like a lot of them go on and get normal jobs that you see, just like Chunk in the Goonies. You know, it's sad that I think this guy really could have transitioned into comedy really well, because a couple of the little roles he's had and other things he's really solid in. But you know, like not everybody gets so lucky. There's always the people that go that Macaulay Culkin route, which he did, but you know, on his level, a lot worse. But yeah, it's funny that you brought that up. I was just looking at that the other day. I think you're frozen, Gabe.
Yeah. Hello? Am I back?
I think so. I can't. Can you hear me good? Is it all good?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Dude, I may have to do this on my phone or something. I don't know. I have to figure something out because it's not.
Yeah, there's like a delay. You froze for like a solid 10, 15 seconds right now. I don't know what the issue is though.
Right. What sucks is like we were in the middle of a thing here.
Right, about Goldberg. And I just went off. I don't know if I cut out or whatever. But I was talking about, I was just reading about that, and it sucks because a lot of these child actors go down that route. And I feel like he had some solid talent. And a lot of the films he was in, he was definitely the highlight. You know, in Heavyweights, in the Mighty Ducks films, he's had a couple spots on commercials and TV shows, and he's always a fun guy to see on these kind of things. But yeah, it sucks. And those photos that came out are pretty gnarly. Seeing him like that.
Right, they're pretty jarring to see him how much he's deteriorated.
Yeah, and that's what that drug does to you, man. It's just it's nuts. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people coming out to support him, but I know like he's pretty much in lockdown right now. They're trying to do their best to help him. I don't think he's had somebody to really turn to, and it's interesting to see. Like, you know, we think about celebrities, especially people who are in movies and stuff, and you think, oh, they're going to be set for life. And I think that shows you that just like, you know, the money runs out, you know, so do the job offers. And, it's pretty fucking terrible.
Right.
But at least on a lighter note, we got a new Mighty Duck show, I think, coming out in a Sandlot. I heard a Sandlot reunion thing both on Disney Plus.
That's what I heard, and I don't know if is Gordon Bombay coming for the Mighty Ducks.
From what I know, pretty much everybody is pretty much set,
Except Goldberg, of course.
Right. Which could have been. I mean, yeah. I know Emilio. They're saying Emilio Estevez will be back for the Mighty Ducks.
Right.
Yeah, they're saying Mighty Duck series coming. Reports say Emilio Estevez returns. I assume some of the original cast will come back. Do you remember the animated series?
I do remember the animated series. I watched it.
Yeah, I used
one
to
of
see
those
the rerun. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was looking through the thing right now. But yeah, that's my number.
Well, it's good to see Emilio Estevez acting again.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. I don't know what the last thing I've seen Emilio Estevez in.
Yeah.
Hold on. Is there any sort of improvement on your run?
For what?
For the connection issues right now.
I don't know. I just changed something from public to private, and then it seems to have gotten better.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was that. Who knows?
Who knows? I don't know. I was messing around with some properties right now, but.
All right. So yeah, number 4 was The Sandlot. But yeah, it's funny. All those kids did very similar things in the 90s. But it's a solid cast, and I think it's, like, it really is a stone cold classic. Like, that's one of those things that it's just lightning in a bottle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for all those movies, and you're gonna hate me, but I do have The Sandlot a little bit higher on my list here.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Well, what's your number 3 pick?
So it's gonna be higher than number 3 because at number 3 I have A League of Their Own.
Okay.
You had a who's who of women actors of the 90s. You had Madonna, you had Gina Davis, you had Rosie O'Donnell.
Yep.
You had, like I said, a who's who of women actors back then, and you had Tom Hanks also in there as well. So, and then there was also
John Lovitz too.
John Lovitz too, and then there was a Chicago connection because they were playing at Wrigley Field. Because the owner of the Cubs, they never said the Cubs, but the owner of the Chicago team wanted to put on a women's baseball league. And, it had everything. It had, you had World War II going on. So you had that aspect. You had, comedy, because of Rosie O'Donnell. You had some drama with Gina Davis. So overall, in general, that movie for me really worked. As far as a baseball movie is concerned, I mean, you really saw how baseball had to change in the 50s because of all the men going off to war to fight World War II.
Right. Yeah, no. So I mean, I might as well talk about it because, that's your number 3 pick, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I League of Their Own is on my list too, but I have more to say about it when we get a little higher on the list. But I totally agree with everything that you say. I really like A League of Their Own. I think it's for the same reasons that I like. Again, I like most baseball movies. Is it's all about the cast, and it's all about the entire team. And I think one of the Cusacks is in that too. One of the Cusack siblings, not Joan, but I think the lesser known one, Anne Cusack. I think she plays like moms and like. Her role in every TV show and stuff, she plays a mom.
Right.
But she plays one of the, I think she's like left fielder in that or something like that. But yeah, that's a great movie, and it's true. It's like a who's who of everybody who was hot in the 90s when Donna's acting career was getting kickstarted. For a little bit, she was in that. Dick Tracy. She had a couple solid film roles. I think there's even talks about her. She was up running for Catwoman before Michelle Pfeiffer. I think it was like her, Annette Bening, and Michelle Pfeiffer were all up for Catwoman.
I think they did an excellent casting with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's great, and that's Gina Davis at the height of her power, pretty much too.
Right. You also had Lori Petty, who was Keanu Reeves' love interest in Point Break.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a great cast, all led by Hanks, and one of the best female directors of all time, which I'll talk about later, Penny Marshall. So it's a great movie. It's really good. But I'll have more to say once we get there in the list.
All right. Sounds good. So what do you have at number 3?
I'm gonna go with the Dennis Quaid Disney film, The Rookie.
Okay.
Because I feel like this is like a solid, like a 1,000,000 shot Rocky kind of story, and I always love that kind of stuff. It's got a very similar vibe to there's this Mark Wahlberg. I'm blanking on the name, and I know the name, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles movie. Well, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Invincible.
70s. Invincible. That's another great one that Disney did. Another great sports drama. And it's got a very similar plot to The Rookie, where you got this sort of down and out, over the hill, older guy who's got this hidden talent and gets an opportunity to truly shine and make something of himself. And I think Dennis Quaid nails it. I feel like it's just a feel-good movie. I think it's solid. It's at this time period where Disney was putting out a lot of sports dramas, like Remember the Titans. They did Miracle with Kurt Russell. So, and this stands tall with all those. I think The Rookie is really solid. I really like that one. That's high on my list. I think it's just a really good feel-good movie.
It's a really good feel-good movie. And like you said, I think Disney does a great quality of taking true stories and turn them into like family-friendly, movies.
Right.
Something that everybody could enjoy. And like you said, it has a very heartwarming quality to it.
Yeah, there's a heartwarming quality, nostalgia for the sport in general. And it's all like what a movie like The Rookie or like Invincible or Remember the Titans, it depends on that star power for us to fall in love with the character and stuff. Right. And they did a great job of the casting and getting Dennis Quaid. So number 3 is going to be The Rookie.
All right,
I like number 2.
My number 2 is The Sandlot.
Okay.
Yeah. What more can be said about The Sandlot that hasn't been said? I mean, it's the quintessential childhood baseball movie. When parents nowadays show their kids a baseball movie, the first movie they're showing is The Sandlot.
The Sandlot.
It's a movie that you fall in love with Benny the Jet Rodriguez. You fall in love with Squints and and oh man, I forgot the lifeguard's name.
I know the name too. I'm blanking.
I felt like it was like Pfeiffer or something like that.
God damn it! What is her name?
As you look it up, I'll say because those boys are all basically pre-puberty boys. Before
Wendy Peppercorn.
Peppercorn, there we go.
Yeah, there we go.
For the most part, it's like the summer starts off and they're all like pre-puberty, and like as the summer progresses, they're like they're hitting puberty, they're looking at girls in a different way, and it just shows like the entire course of the summer, and it's a great, if not one of the best coming of age stories for young men, and for that reason it makes my number 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great pick. That's why it's at my number 4, and I can see why it's higher on other people's lists. I think The Sandlot's great. It's definitely any baseball list you come up with, I feel like it's got to be top 5.
Right.
And no matter how popular it is in pop culture and stuff, like there's a reason why it really does because of its timelessness in terms of the decade it's set in the 1960s and stuff. There's really a sort of nostalgia and a love for the sport again, in general, in that, and the jokes work with the kids and stuff, like the innocence and the line delivery. With kids movies especially, it's all about the casting. Like, right. You could easily go wrong with that. And The Sandlot's one of the best to do it.
Absolutely. And do you feel like maybe because it was recorded or filmed in '93, a couple years after it, that maybe they got like the idea for like that little Mr. like the Beast, the dog little side story? Maybe they got the idea from the It kids.
Oh yeah, I always felt like that with The Sandlot, that there's definitely like a Stephen King borrowing in that, especially another movie we talked about, Stand By Me.
Right.
I mentioned that before. Like, they're like, the writer of that definitely borrows heavily from Stephen King books. One thing I wanted to mention: have you ever seen the Sandlot direct to DVD sequels?
No.
Okay, so I've seen the first one.
Okay.
And this is a time period in my life. I might have been like 10 or 12 when all these direct-to-DVD. There was a time period where Disney and Fox and a lot of them were putting out direct-to-DVD sequels of beloved franchises and recasting them and acting like the audience is going to be okay with it. Like, oh, it's fine. Like, we're going to do Home Alone 4. It's Kevin. It's not Macaulay Culkin. And it's it's straight to DVD, and the parents got divorced and blah, blah, blah. And they act like it's totally normal. It's fine. And they do the same thing with, like, Sandlot. It's like a new group of kids and stuff. I think the only returning character was James Earl Jones in The Beast. And it's like the same thing again. It hits the same notes, but in a really bad way. It's like the same movie without all the charm. It takes place in the 70s instead of the 60s. And they always mention characters from the first movie that they had no idea. They wouldn't have known about, like, oh, did you hear about Benny the Jet? Or stuff like that. Like really stupid things like that they'll mention that they would have not have known about. It does that thing that a lot of straight-to-DVD movies do, where they mention a person, and they, clearly they never knew them. But I just wanted to shout those movies out because they were pretty terrible. And I think they had, 2 or 3 direct-to-DVD sequels.
It's like Home Alone, but at least I give Home Alone credit on Home Alone 4 is at least they used Macaulay Culkin's younger brother for that one. So they sort of kept it in the same Culkin family.
They tried, and for one of the Home Alones, I think it was like a smart house, I think, or it was like a smart house on the burglars, or it's Marv breaking out of prison. There's no Harry, and it's Marv's girlfriend. And Kevin's dad left his mom to live with a rich lady, and she has a smart home with a butler and everything. And Kevin is just like a little shit who's getting all these toys. He has a smart room. He has a room with 500 TV screens and shit. It's a really weird movie. That's one of the direct-to-DVD sequels. But this has got a lot of that sort of flavor going on, all the Sandlot sequels. But I'd like to see a proper, a proper reunion thing, maybe set in the 80s, the 80s or 90s. At least that's what they're talking about doing with the new movie or TV thing they're doing at Disney Plus.
Okay, I'd be interested to see.
I think it'll be cool.
So, what do you have for your number 2?
My number 2 is going to be A League of Their Own, and it's going to be for all the reasons that you mentioned. I think it's a solid film. I think again, it's all about the casting for me and the characters, and I think that you don't get better than this cast for an all-female cast in that time period.
Right.
Led by one of the best sort of leading mans coming up leading mans in comedy, and Tom Hanks, and he teams up with Penny Marshall, who did Big and a bunch of other movies that I really like too. And really, this is a movie where it's a bunch of people at the height of their power really give it the edge of being one of the best baseball movies. And again, all the comedy works. There's no crying in baseball scene, all that stuff. It's so memorable, and really, it's the camaraderie. Yeah, it's one of the few movies I could tolerate Rosie O'Donnell in, besides the Flintstones. I don't know what else she's done though.
Oh man, where was it? I told you about that Wine Sexy movie she made.
Really? Well, she's in
Yeah.
Sister Act. Is she in Sister Act? I'm pretty sure she is, right?
Who? Rosie O'Donnell in Sister Act?
I don't think so.
No. We talked about she was in the Flintstones, Sleepless in Seattle, Now and Then, Exit to
Now and
Eden
then.
was Harriet the Spy, and then that's about it.
Oh, I confused her with I can't pronounce the actress's name. The actress from Hocus Pocus. She's in the Sister Act film. I don't know why I said Rosie O'Donnell.
Named Johnny or something like that.
Yeah, Camille Ninjani or something. Yeah, she's funny. I don't know why I confused her with Rosie O'Donnell.
I know why, but I'm not gonna say it.
It's because I think all white people look the same.
That's white people.
Yep. But yeah, number 2 is A League of Their Own. I feel like again, especially with The Sandlot, it's like one of those movies where it really just stands the test of time.
You know who was in it that I didn't know until right now? Tia Leone was in it as like a minor character, like a player on first base.
Tia Leone is in A League of Their Own?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now.
And then you had Bill Pullman in there before he became president of the United States.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Have you watched The Sinner?
I have watched The Sinner. I watched the first
great.
season. I haven't seen the second season yet.
Pretty messed up. He's awesome in that show.
Yeah, I'm glad he's back because he went away for a little bit. Like he did some bad movies and some bad stuff, and then like he went away, and then The Sinner sort of like brought him back.
Oh yeah, he's great in that. He's got a weird kink. He likes to be stepped on.
I know.
But yeah, that's a really good show.
Totally random, but do you feel like those 90s disaster movies like did terrible things to some like actors' careers? Like for example, Bill Paxton and Twister. Like what did Bill Paxton do like after Twister? Like he was pretty big before Twister. And then after Twister, where'd he go? Same thing with Bill Pullman right after Independence Day. Where did he go?
Where'd he go? It's funny. It's like both the Bills were super talented, man. From Spaceballs to Aliens and Near Dark and all these movies that these guys did. Did they ever do a movie together?
I don't think so.
Weird. Have you ever seen Zero Effect?
No.
Bill Pullman and Ben Stiller. They play private eye detectives. It's comedy. I've never seen it. It's always one of those movies on like my watch list. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't know if it ruins their careers. I don't know. I mean, he did the sequel to I've never seen Independence Day 2.
I did.
It's pretty bad.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Like it could have been a direct to DVD sequel.
I heard they mention Will Smith a lot, but you never like see him.
Right. They mention him a lot because, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna see it or whatever, but spoiler alert, his son, is in it as a fighter pilot. So they mention, oh, your father did a great service to this country type. So they basically killed him.
But wasn't the kid from Independence Day not even really his son?
That is correct.
It was like his girlfriend's kid or whatever.
Maybe they had a kid. I don't know.
Or maybe it's supposed to be him and he started calling him dad. I feel like it's weird when movies do that, though. I've never seen the Big Mama sequels, but I remember the first Big Mama. Martin Lawrence helps out. Nia Long's in the first one, right? He helps out Nia Long, and she's got a son, and he falls in love with her and looks after her. And then I guess in the next two films, the kid starts calling him dad, like it's all normal and shit. Like, dude, you have a dad. Like, I don't know. I always find that weird in movies when they do that. They just act like it's like not an issue. But Yeah, I always thought in the first Independence Day that that wasn't his kid.
It wasn't his kid, but I feel like maybe. I mean, he did marry the stripper, so they could have had another
He
kid.
did. Yeah. So I guess it's the. I'm trying to look it up. It must be the little kid from the. That was the kid from the Fresh Prince, right?
Right, and the original, yeah, Nikki something.
Yeah, that was his stepson. So I was right. Yeah. It's funny. Like, I feel like none of these movies you could get away with making now. Like, nobody really comes out to see disaster movies. The Rock did San Andreas. That was about it.
I had fun with San Andreas.
I think that was pretty.
I had fun with disaster movies.
No, I do too. I think disaster movies are fun as hell. I love Twister. So.
Yeah, Twister was awesome, and I love The Day After Tomorrow.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. There was also another one, 2020? What was it? 2012?
It was
With John Cusack.
Conspiracy theory. Yep. That movie's pretty wild, too.
It is wild, but I don't know. I love seeing these movies where, like, the Earth self-implodes and humanity's trying to survive these harsh winters and all this crazy stuff. Like, I like those movies.
Yeah, I would definitely be down for, like, another tornado movie. I don't know what it is. I feel like tornado movies are cool. Or I feel like Twister's the ultimate one because it feels like a summer movie. You know, tornadoes happen in the summer and stuff. Right. So it feels like a proper summer blockbuster. I remember the ride at Universal, too, was pretty fun. I think they took that down, though. I'm not sure if it's still there. I would be down for another Twister. I feel like that would be a fun movie to pull off.
Twister 2.
Yeah, but we can't have it. We can't. It's got to be a reboot because we got no Bill Paxton. He's gone.
That is true. And no Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Nope. Yeah, that movie had a pretty solid cast.
Carrie Elwood. It had the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yep.
It had a decent cast.
Yeah, there's a lot of great actors in that one. I don't know if they've ever tried to remake it.
I think they did. Well, not a remake. I think there was a sequel, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe there was a directed DVD sequel or something. I know there's a movie Jesse likes called Hurricane Heist. I've never seen it, and apparently it's about a group of people that pull off a heist during a hurricane.
Okay.
So that's a modern disaster movie that's come out.
Well, no, your favorite movie from last year is
Crawl. Crawl is like half disaster movie, half gator horror movie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess it's one of the most recent ones. I guess I always forget that one counts as disaster movie. Maybe we should watch Hurricane.
Really, you forget about Crawl, your number, in your top 5 of horrors of last year.
Oh, I know. I didn't forget about Crawl, but I always forget that like it counts as a disaster movie. I always think of it as Gator movie first, but then I remember like, all the shit that happened with the hurricane going on and everything. There's a lot of cool sequences in that.
Right.
We should have a disaster use
Oh, we definitely should.
So I think we got to make it our mission for us to watch Hurricane Heist.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
There's another one that came out with one of the cast members from The Walking Dead, and I'm forgetting it was in 3D. It was a 3D found footage movie about a tornado.
Oh, okay. That's weird.
Yeah, and I'm blanking on the name. I remember it came out and it bombed. Like it was really hyped. Trying to look it up. Walking Dead. It's with one of the cast members from the early seasons. Early seasons of The Walking Dead. I'm blanking on the actress's name. She hasn't been in the show in so long. She was only in like 2 seasons, I think.
We're talking about like Geostorm.
Oh, is that it? I think Into the Storm. It's with Sarah Wayne Callies. Oh, she's from LaGrange, Illinois. It's right over where I'm from.
Okay, I know exactly who she is. She was like, she was Rick's wife.
Yes, she was Rick's wife in the Walking Dead. Yeah, she's been in a couple of things, but she was in Into the Storm, and I think that's I'm pretty sure it's found footage, and it was in 3D. Remember, it came out in theaters. It cost like a ton of money, like $50 or $60 million, and it bombed.
Right.
Oh no, it made $160 million on a $50 million budget, so it broke even. Richard Armitage and yeah.
It's funny as I'm looking at it, and then Into the Storm, it has a 5.8 on IMDb, 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, 91% on Google, 44% on Metacritic. Like, this movie's rating is like all over the place.
Right, and it's one of those movies that, like, this is that time period for movies in August, where August was like the dumping ground, where like if a movie was bad, they just
for like summer blockbusters.
Yeah, because the blockbuster season's over and stuff, so it's just like, oh shit, what do we do with this movie? Put it in August.
But you know who changed that? The Turtles did.
Turtles and Guardians of the Galaxy, both of them in August.
Yeah, they changed
one week apart.
They changed the entire August landscape after that, because once I think Turtles got released first, and Turtles like knocked it out. Like, nobody thought this movie was gonna make any money, because Turtles are back, and last time anybody heard of the Turtles was very, Nicktoons, Turtles.
Right, they made that movie. Yeah.
And then they made this movie, and it was great, and it made a shit ton of money. And then, like a week or two later, Guardians of the Galaxy comes out, and that was also an even bigger hit. And all of a sudden, now August is a major player for the summer blockbuster.
Now we got like Hobbs and Shaw and all these other movies that come out in August.
Mm-hmm. Now they're going to try to push it to September.
Yeah, I know. Now they're trying to say up to September is summer blockbuster. I'm going to say all year round has pretty much become summer blockbuster season. Especially with these Marvel movies, too.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like Scorsese there, with everything being blockbusters nowadays out there.
Yeah, everything's a roller coaster. I'm okay with those comments. I'm not like
oh no,
too upset by that sort of thing. I mean, he's old. I mean, a lot of these old movie guys aren't big on the Marvel movies. I think they all recognize that they're films, just not for them. I'm okay with that shit. I don't care. I'll see everything.
As what I like to see almost everything. I could see the small budget movies, and I see the big budget movies, and anything in between. Like, I don't care. As long as I'm entertained, I don't mind what type of movie it is.
No, I agree. I'm looking up these Turtles movies here. I like it. I know the first one made a pretty good amount of money, especially in August. But I'm curious about the drop off between then and the second film. Or the second film was seen as a bomb.
It was seen as a bomb.
So I want to know what happened between the first movie and the second movie. Because I remember the second movie was heavily marketed, but the first movie, they were hiding the marketing because they weren't too proud of the film, even though the film went on and had pretty decent audience scores and box office receipts and stuff. But I want to know what happened between the first movie and the second movie, because I thought the second movie was an improvement.
As a Turtles connoisseur, I'm going to tell you what happened. And as you look this up, and then you could correct me if I'm wrong. But what happened is, in the second one, they changed the look of the Turtles. They made them softer. They made them more kid-friendly.
Right.
And then they took away Megan Fox's sex appeal in the second one. In the first one, she was a sexy April. And then the second one, she was more kid-friendly April. So as soon as Nickelodeon or Paramount made their money on the first one, then they scaled it back and they made it more CGI. The turtles looked more CGI than ever, but they had softer tones. Like if you look at and you can look at the images. If you look at the first turtles, they're grimier. They have a tougher look. Um, more sharp corners, around the edges, what have you.
Well, the original. I think the original cut of that movie, they were aliens. Like they really. I mean, technically, the turtles are aliens, but
Right.
it's the ooze that's alien genetic. But apparently, in the first couple of drafts of the script, and like I think the first cut of the movie, they were legit aliens, and Shredder was a white dude.
Right. Yeah,
So
I remember
I'm
that.
curious what happened. Yeah, because remember in the first trailer, even Shredder was a white guy in the first trailer for that movie.
There was fan blowback about making the turtles alien. There was there was fan blowback about them changing the origin stories of the turtles and Shredder. So that's why they sort of switched it up.
So yeah, because the pretty much second movie does a lot of things to kind of reboot itself. The Turtles are more like the 80s animated show. There's a lot of stuff that's called back to the 80s animated show. One of the things I always thought was weird about the movie is Shredder. Shredder is suddenly Brian T., who's been in like a bunch of different movies. But in the first TMNT film, you could tell Shredder was a reshot with an older man who was always in the shadows, an older Asian man, because it originally was supposed to be Eric Fichtner as the Shredder. The whole concept of those movies really it fascinates me. I'd like to see a documentary about like what happened between all that shit.
Yeah, and as a toy collector, because I collected the quarter scale turtles when they first came out from the first movie.
Right.
And then to the second movie, which I didn't collect in the toys because, like I said, they looked more cartoony than the first movie did. And I was like, I don't need to get any of those.
Yeah, no. So, like, I remember, like, I was interested in the look of the first one because they were really talking about the movie was going to be gritty and stuff. I know they reshot a lot of the film, the 2014 film. So I wonder what stuff was in the original cut. Because the main villain is Eric Sachs, which, if you translate that in Japanese, it's Oroku Saki. But in the film, Eric Sachs is just a front for the Shredder. The Shredder's in the shadows. Eric Sachs is in the front.
Right.
I don't know. But I had fun with those movies. I think they're fun. They're definitely flawed, but I think, as somebody who's a fan of Ninja Turtle stuff as well, the original trilogy and the comic books, I have fun whenever I see the Turtles characters on screen.
As do I.
So I know we went off on a whole tangent from baseball movies to Ninja Turtle stuff, but we got here off of A League of Their Own, I think.
Yeah, we did. We got here at year number 2, so that means are we on the same wavelength as far as what our number 1 movie is going to be?
I hope so. What's your number 1?
I mean, my number 1's Major League.
Yeah, my number 1's Major League.
Okay.
That'll never change. Yeah.
No.
Major League is, yeah. I'll let you go first.
I mean, Major League is just a timeless classic. I mean, I grew up wanting to be, Ricky Vaughn, Wild Thing Vaughn. Like, you used to put on that music and, I wanted to get the same haircut as Ricky Vaughn. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just everything you wanted a baseball movie to have, I think. It has great action, baseball shots. It has, the old man playing in the twilight of his career and as a catcher. You have the rookie pitcher. You have Wesley Snipes as your leadoff hitter, Willie Mae Hayes.
Willie Mae Hayes, yep. Pedro Serrano, you can't forget him. Guy does all the Allstate commercials now.
Yeah, I know.
No, I agree with everything you say. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it's by far my favorite baseball movie. And it kind of feels like the Avengers of baseball films or like sports films, where you got all these people that are great, even though they were built to fail because the owner wants to move them to Miami. Right. It's like they formed this great camaraderie, and everybody in it is Tom Berenger is fantastic in it. Just everybody works And it really is like they really even to people that aren't baseball fans, I feel like can enjoy this film no problem as well because it works as a comedy. It also works as a baseball movie, a sports movie, feel good movie, memorable characters and moments. And it sucks that I'm not a big fan of the sequels. I didn't like part 2. I think it's got a couple of fun moments, but I think for the most part it's kind of retread. And I've never seen part 3 though. So I've always felt Major League. It's one of my favorite comedies. I feel like it's one of the best sports movies of all time. I always feel like it's one of those movies you could definitely remake. And I always feel like if somebody got their hands on it who could do baseball right, they could do a pretty solid job.
They could. And I watched all 3. I watched Major League, Major League 2, and Major League back to the minors. Oh, that was terrible. But anyways,
who's in that? Is any of the returning cast in part 3?
Back to the minors?
Right.
Yeah, Dorn is in there.
Really?
Yeah, Dennis Haysbert, obviously, Serrano is in there. Your favorite Walter Goggins is in there.
Walton Goggins is in Major League 3. Holy shit.
He is. But yeah, I don't know. It's always been one of those movies where it's just I don't know. But anyways, Major League though has always been one. Major League, and like I said, I know you don't like part 2, but I always also liked part 2. I mean, one of my favorites is the chemistry between Serrano and the new agent.
Oh yeah, that stuff's pretty good actually.
I mean, that's like always been my favorite. I always quote it. Like I've always been like, you got no problems.
No, I don't hate Major League 2. I think it has some fun moments. Definitely that stuff as well. But I feel like the third act feels too similar to the first movie. A lot of the stuff that happens, like meeting Rick Vaughn, and like a lot of the characters are doing the same shtick. But I feel like that's what any comedy sequel, they're always going to be sort of the law of diminishing returns.
Right. I mean, the part 2, I think with the first one, it was a very fresh take on everything. Like everything seemed original. Like you've never seen anything like that in a baseball movie before. And then part 2, it's sort of like it's sort of, how can I say, it's lazy writing because you take the success that they had and you give all these players success and it all goes to their heads. And then obviously the team falls down and then all of a sudden it's their comeuppance again. It's their rise again in the third act.
Right.
So it's like very lazy writing in the sense where like, yeah, you could see how they were going to go with it. And then you have, and we forgot to even mention Randy Quaid in this. He's hilarious as an Indians fan. Yeah,
no, Randy Quaid is great. The announcers, has a great third act. And this is Charlie Sheen where he's fucking cool, and you didn't think like this guy's like a fucking loser.
He's never been. He has that tiger's blood.
I know. No, and he's got the best haircut in movie history too.
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. I would get that haircut.
I thought about it for a while too. I thought about getting that haircut.
Oh, and as a person that wears glasses, I always wanted to get those glasses with like the skull and crossbows on it. I'll just like put them on, and I'm just like, I want those glasses.
You should buy the frames on like Amazon and take it to like a lens crafter and have them put real frames in there or real lenses in there.
I should.
But yeah, number 1, I think for both of us, yeah, everything that we've talked about, Major League is definitely anybody that has a baseball list, like it's got to be number 1. And it's the movie that's done it all. You can't replicate it. I would like for them to. I feel like a reboot of some sorts would be pretty damn awesome. Maybe not a remake, but a reboot. I think would be pretty damn awesome. I think it's too good of a franchise to ignore, and
right.
It nails the baseball energy.
It does, but as we're closing down this episode on baseball, it feels though that my generation and I think your generation, I think we're in the same generation, whatever, but like the generations after us, baseball is not at the forefront anymore as far as sports. I don't feel like it's no
Right.
longer the national pastime. And so a lot of people think baseball is boring or baseball just, nobody wants to sit through 9 innings of baseball.
The two biggest sports it's soccer and UFC.
Right. Well, worldwide probably, but here in the United States, it's still football, NFL and, basketball.
Right.
Major League Baseball is sort of number three. It's locked in at number three. I mean, it's still more popular than hockey. It's still more popular than soccer here, but it's no longer the number one sport by no means. And I feel that, we may have probably done with like the best baseball movies of all time in a sense where I don't see any more baseball movies coming down the pipeline. There's I don't think kids could relate to it. I mean, you're talking about inner city kids that would rather play basketball, rather play football than baseball, only because it's less expensive to play those sports than it is to play baseball. Basketball, all you need is a ball. It could be any ball. You could get a volleyball. You could get a.
Yeah, you don't even need a hoop.
You don't
They
even
talk about these great players like Dwayne Wade and Derrick Rose using milk crates. So.
Right. The same thing with football. You don't even need a football. You just need a ball that you could throw and you could catch, and you can play with any ball. Hell, you could even use a basketball to play football. Like, yeah, these are sports that, as a kid growing up in an inner city, you're gonna, you're not gonna pick that up.
Right.
And so I feel like baseball's changing, and so I feel that, in a sense, we've seen like the last great baseball movies come out in the last, couple decades prior.
No, it's true. I feel like every baseball movie now it's about like finding this person that has like a hidden talent. Like they could throw the ball real fast. Like
Right.
$1 million arm or some shit.
Right. I mean, the last baseball movie was like Moneyball, and you're talking about just baseball finances and how you make a playoff team, how you make a bad team into a playoff team just by doing the stats. Like, as great as Brad Pitt was in it, as good as what's his face was
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, it was still a pretty boring concept. Like, you're giving me a baseball movie about stats. Okay. And then they went back to, 42, and they did the whole Jackie Robinson story, which is great. It's a great part of our history, American history, baseball history. It's a great movie, but you're going back to like the past. Like, there's really nothing there that you're like, okay.
We need a good modern baseball movie.
Absolutely.
Somebody's got to make it. Somebody's got to do it.
You know what? Let's make everybody mad and do like a Sandlot with like Latin Hispanic kids.
It would make more sense now. It wouldn't be white kids. The Sandlot now, it would be inner city kids in Englewood.
Yes.
Or do it in South Compton.
Or it'll be kids from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico.
It would be kids in Humboldt Park.
Yes. Kids in Humboldt Park. And then instead of having a beast, we could have the Humboldt Park crocodile.
Yeah, it'll be Humboldt Park. That's true. No, and instead of what would Wendy Peppercorn, I don't think she'd be a lifeguard. What would she be? What would she be doing?
Wendy Peppercorn wouldn't be her. It would still be Wendy, but the Latin version of Wendy would be Wendy. You gotta throw in that H, Wendy, and she would probably be like a hairstylist or something, in Humboldt Park.
I'll work at one of those food places.
One of those. Oh, she could be like a nail technician.
And then the kids come and bug her and shit like that. And
Right.
instead of Babe Ruth, they'd worship Javi Baez.
Roberto Clemente, because he's a Puerto Rican.
Right. Yeah, no, it probably would be him actually. I think we have.
Because there's a high school in the city called Roberto Clemente High School.
Oh yeah, there's a high school in yeah, for sure. No, I think we got to we should probably pitch this to them. Just like I think what's his name from Friends, thinks it was like on the news or news feed. People are upset because one of the cast members' friends, I forget his name, who plays Ross, wants an all black or all Asian version of Friends.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I've told you this, and I've probably mentioned it. Friends was a ripoff of Living Single.
I've heard people say that. I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah, according to the story that I've read and everybody has mentioned, is the president of NBC back then watched in Living Single and said, "That's a great show. I want that show on my network." And he had the writers and producers working on it, and that's how they came across Friends. It's he watched in Living Single, and said, "I want that show on NBC." And they made their own show, but this time they did all white people for Friends.
Fuck that.
It's the same story. They all live in the same apartment, except one's black, all white. They all live in New York. They were all single. They all hung out at the same place, except, two different cultures.
I like Friends. I'm not really into comedies about pretty people trying to say funny stuff. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I think I like my comedies with a bit of edge, like Danny McBride stuff or Seinfeld, where it's a lot of very imperfections and really weird characters.
Right.
I never followed the Friend type. I feel like it's one of those shows I watched late at night because nothing else was on.
I never got it either, but I mean, I'm just a kid from the city, so I don't think I'm from the south side of the city, so I don't. It didn't speak to me at all. So I never.
The thing is, I feel like I don't. Who does Friends speak to? Because Seinfeld, you could say Seinfeld. The characters in Seinfeld are more successful than the characters in Friends. Yet the characters in Seinfeld live in shitty apartments, but they both live in New York.
Right, but Seinfeld characters seemed more relatable, maybe because of their craziness, maybe because of the way that they acted. Like, I feel like they acted more like true New Yorkers, where they were just rude to everybody. They didn't fucking care about anybody but themselves and their little group.
Right.
I mean, we're like that, and we don't care about anybody else besides our little group that we have or what have you. We're not like, I don't necessarily feel like like, if I was going to belong to a cast, I belong more with Seinfeld people than I do with Friends people, just because of the way I am and the way whatever. But
yeah, I think it's about relatability. I don't think I'd be able to relate to anybody except maybe like Joey. But I don't know. Maybe that's the closest. I feel like none of the characters are super relatable.
Right, and I don't know. I feel like I could relate more to George or Kramer, maybe even Elaine than anything,
Yeah, but it's funny. Like not Seinfeld, but Friends is becoming more popular than it's ever been in its lifespan as a television show.
Right. These guys are still getting paid insane amounts of money on the royalty checks.
Well, right, and it's crazy to think about because I know Friends was big in the 90s, but it was well known that Seinfeld was the biggest comedy show on TV at the time and the highest selling comedy show up to this day. And I think Friends is now holding that record just because of syndication and Netflix and Hulu. All these, I think HBO Max soon. All these people are like super into Friends, like super into it.
Yeah, it's people like my age that got into Friends in the 90s when they were teenagers, and now they're showing their kids, and now as adults they're still watching Friends, and I'm like, no. Like, once I'm done with a series, I'm sort of done with it. Like, I watch Parks and Rec, and I don't think I need to go watch it again. I saw another great comedy, Community. Well written, well directed, and amazing cast. And I don't think I need to go see Community again. That 70s show I don't need to revisit again.
And it's like a 70 shows, another one of those shows that I put in the Friends category, which is like, I just can't relate to these people. Like, I think it's a cool concept. I think it's, I like that it's set in the 70s. We got a catchy theme song, but another one of those things are just like, I don't see myself in any of these characters. And like, I see myself in like the Always Sunny gang. I feel like the type of humor that they say seems relatable and realistic in the type of jokes that real people talk about.
Yeah.
And the type of humor and the pop culture references and stuff. Like there's certain shows where I just look at them like, I don't know if I could I don't know if somebody would say that in this situation and it work and be funny. I feel like only certain comedians can pull certain things off. And I always thought Seinfeld, Sunny, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Danny McBride, anything that he does, Eastbound and Down, if you want to talk about baseball shit, those are guys that know how to pull off anything and make anything work. Like Principles, Righteous Gemstones is something that I love, that I watched recently. When you talk about the greatest comedy shows of all time, I don't even think Friends holds a candle to any of that stuff.
I completely agree with you. Definitely not. I mean, I think there's so many better shows out there, even ones that you say you can't relate. But to me, like I said, even the '70s show I think is better than Friends. I personally can relate more to that cast of characters than I can with the cast of Friends.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more going on in '70s show too. I think I just like weird characters. Because at least '70s show has Red Foreman. It's got their neighbor that's always an annoying Red. I forget his name. What's her name's father?
Right. Red and then Kitty, his parents. But you know why? Know who I relate to in the '70s show, and maybe why I like them more is I related to Fez, because I know what it felt like to be a kid, in an environment that wasn't normal. Like I grew up on the South Side, but I grew up in white neighborhoods where I was one of the first Mexicans in a white school. So I was sort of I wasn't a foreign exchange student, but I was that weird guy. I was the weird kid in every class I was in. So I related to Fez a lot more than anybody else.
Yeah, that's why I find it weird. Just like, what do people relate to in shows like Friends? Because there's nothing that they do that's relatable. They're all very successful, and even when they have struggles, they rely back on their rich family members, like Rachel or something. Like she comes from a very wealthy family. Ross is a very wealthy, he's like a teacher and stuff, and he's always banging his students and shit. And then what's his problem? His wife turned into a lesbian.
Right.
There's. I feel like we're overthinking it, but I always think about that stuff when I think about popular shows. Just what's the draw though?
Doesn't your girlfriend really like Friends?
Yeah, she does. So I hope she never sees this, because I was talking shit about. I had the same conversation with my mom about Friends, and Victoria was there. She's like, "Shut up! It doesn't matter." She gets very mad about it.
Could we bring her on and have a Friends episode? I'm being serious.
And I don't hate Friends. I don't want anybody to think that. I think Friends has some really fun episodes. And I think the cast is all great. I love Lisa Kudrow with a passion. I love Romy and Michelle, everything that she does. I love Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox. I love that cast. I just don't. I think people think about the cast and they think it's the greatest comedy show of all time. I just think they're all better than the show that they were in. If I'm making sense.
Yeah, I got what you're saying, because a lot of times it's like the sum of all parts. You would think it's a great show, like you said. Jennifer Aniston is great when she does her solo work, her movies, especially in the latter part of her career. Those Horrible Bosses, We're the Millers.
She's awesome. Yeah.
She's awesome in those. Lisa Kudrow, like you said, Roman Michelle, Courtney Cox, Scream, Cougars, all those great shows. Right. But for some reason, for me, it doesn't work when they're all together in that Friends as friends per se.
I think it's just the writing. It's I feel like Lisa Kudrow is better than that show. I feel like all those guys are better than the writing in that show.
You know what it could be, though, is that laugh track. I don't know if they did live audience or if it was laugh track, but that laugh track really was pretty bad.
Because I feel like everybody in that show is waiting for the punchline, and when they say the punchline, the laugh track kicks in. And a lot of shows were doing that. And that's the 90s. But I feel like when Seinfeld did it, everybody's screaming, and they're so crazy. So when the laugh track happens, you don't need to laugh with it because they've already said some crazy shit. So,
right.
The laugh track in Seinfeld is well-timed, I guess. You
Yeah,
could
well,
say, 'cause they're
because
always on it.
sometimes with Seinfeld, the punchline, what happened before the punchline was funnier than the actual punchline.
And
So
the
you're
actual
already laughing, and then you get to the punchline, and you've already laughed. You know, like when George comes out of the bathroom and Vandalay Industries, Vandalay, like you're already laughing as soon as you see a naked George running, and
Right.
like before you even get to that punchline.
No, yeah, I think it's that. I think it's maybe the laugh track is throwing me off a little bit. Because I'd say even stuff like the George Lopez show, I think it's funnier. I feel like there's a lot of really solid jokes in that show.
There is, yeah. George Lopez show was pretty funny. You know what? That was like really like I never got into this show, and it's funny because I'm very like proud Hispanic, but for some reason like I never got into that show. Maybe I should go back and rewatch that show.
Just wait till like 4 o'clock in the morning. You'll see it on like Nickelodeon or some shit. See all the best episodes.
Probably.
But anyway, we went off on a thing there about sitcoms. We should just have an all sitcom episode. That way we can continue this conversation.
We should, because we went on from we just tackled everything here, and then had audio issues earlier.
Yeah, I know, but at least we were able to settle those out and talk about Twisters and Hurricane movies and Ninja Turtles and fucking lost child stars who become heroin addicts or.
This was like a throwback to like a We Come to Peace podcast where we started talking about something and then we go off on tangents.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. I'm pretty sure if we had the guys on here too, it would have just been insane. But I feel like we might as well just wrap it up now because we went all over the place.
All right.
But so that was our top 5 baseball movies. For anybody that bothered to listen through the entire thing, top 5 baseball movies. I think we had some solid picks here, and I think next week we're gonna do top 5 romantic comedies that Gabe recommended. So we're gonna do that next week for Valentine's Day, and we're also gonna get up the episode that I forgot to upload. I'll make sure to get that up soon as well. So that's gonna be me. This is Tony from Tony and Gabe's Top 5. I'll let Gabe close this out here, say what he wants to say.
Not much. You guys have a great week or whatever, and then we'll see you next week with our top 5 romantic comedies. There's going to be some really good ones in there, and then just like and subscribe, and comment on what you guys would want us to do next. We got already a request for Eddie Murphy, so we'll be working on that soon.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to do that. So we'll close out here, guys. Make sure, like Gabe said, comment, like, subscribe. We'll make sure to upgrade the show, too. I got to get a new mic, so we'll get all those issues fixed, including the connection issue like we had earlier. So, make sure to check us out, see past episodes, and we'll see you guys next time.
Absolutely.